to the Zero to Here podcast. I'm your host, Denny Dumont. Producer Carl, what up? Today, super excited about our guest. Good friend, real estate colleague, Liam Rines. Liam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Denny.
Super excited to finally sit down for this one. Feeling a little under the weather last week, so we had to postpone.
I'm so sorry for that.
But the anticipation has built within me, and I've been obsessing over how good this is going to be for like a week and a half.
I've been hard all day waiting for this.
Excellent. With every guest, Liam, I start by asking you to describe yourself in 3 words. Could be 3 words, could be 3 phrases. And I like kind of just digging into what those words or why you use them are.
Oh, God. 3 words, hey?
Could be phrases, could be characteristics that you like about yourself or you've seen come out in your self-employment career or whatever.
Oh, like in pertaining to business. Okay. Well, integrity for one, business-wise.
Yeah.
2, slut. I think that describes me pretty well. And 3, I don't know, something with dogs. Like I love dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Animal lover,
taco maker. What does it say on my Tinder profile? Animal lover, taco maker, big spoon aficionado.
Carl, can we pull up his Tinder profile and just double check exactly what it says? Because I feel like you just gave us the PG version of what it actually probably says.
Actually, you know what? Like it's pretty good. The number one thing is maker of tacos, and let me tell you. Oh, I also that I do not own a pair of white sunglasses. That's on there too.
What do you have against white sunglasses?
I feel like maybe it would work if my name was like Chet or Chad. Maybe like Parker. If my name was Parker, I'd have some white sunglasses.
Okay.
Just like there's just an instant douchebag connotation to anyone that owns white sunglasses. This is gonna be so fucking off track. I'm sorry. I'll try and keep it on. Like I said, I had like 6 edibles before I got here, so.
Okay, for whatever reason, out of those 3, the first one I want to talk about is lover of dog.
Oh yeah,
and I'm sure we're gonna get into Poco and his background.
Yep. I was gonna bring him actually. I just wasn't sure, how you feel about that.
We're very pet friendly here at Zero to Here.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Next time. For sure.
Maybe we'll interview him.
You probably should, man. He's got creepy human eyes. And he will make eye contact with you the entire time. Yeah.
Will he be hard when he gets here too?
Man, he's Latin. That guy's got fire in his blood and he's hard all the time.
The one thing I wanted to point out is I love watching your social media, and probably the best thing that you do, and it happened, I don't know if it's like a weekly occurrence or whatever, but on walks with your dog, you consistently give him positive feedback, and it's hilarious to watch. Like I remember one time you're walking your dog, he's barely moving, must have been like a hungover Sunday or something for him, but you're walking your dog and your comment is, Poco, you're looking good today, buddy. Have you lost some weight?
Oh yeah, no, I do that all the time, and I don't know, he's just such a funny little dude. But yeah, I'll be walking him, I'll be like, you know what, man, you look good today. You look good. You look really good. Or I got him in your sweater, and it's like, sweet, like, great sweater, bro. Like, it's pretty slimming. Every time I bring him out and like he sees friends I haven't seen for a while, they make a comment that he might have put on a few pounds. So I try and it's literally fat shaming my dog, and like body shaming my dog. But I work pretty hard to like bring him back up after those encounters, because nobody likes to be called fat, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Integrity was one.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is that in your top 3?
Oh man, especially in the industry that we've chosen to be in. A lot of this comes down to the luck that I've had with mentorship in my early career with a few different agents at KW that always seemed to have time for me, and a bunch of the guys that I really looked up to. Integrity was the number one thing that they would push, and for me, I don't know, I just think that we see enough really evil shit in our industry, and it seems to attract either the best of us or in some cases the worst of us. So I try and at least give the impression to my clients that the decision to work with me, whether it works out or not, was a good one. And I think that that's going to give me the longevity in my career and the longevity with the relationships that I make in my career to carry on. Because if you just like continually screw people and just move on to the next person to screw, then, like eventually you'll get found out, and you'll get found out not just by, the public, but also by your fellow agents. And, I like the reputation I have with the agents that I work with, like if I bring them an offer, they know it's legit. I've done my homework and, I'm good to my word, and I think that's, especially over the last 2 years with what we were seeing, multiple offers and all the mayhem, I feel that in some cases, the transactions I made, with some of these agents that I've worked with in the past, gave me a bit of an edge, if that makes sense.
Totally.
I don't know.
With the last guest I had on, we were talking about, he said early in his career, which was in banking, which is somewhat unrelated, but what we were talking about was really related, in that one of his managers early on in his career told him that he wasn't aggressive enough to succeed.
Oh.
And so we kind of chatted about that and how I thought that was extremely false. So I'm not.
What does that even mean?
Well, I bring it back to real estate, right? And I say, real estate agents have this stigmatism of being used car salesmen. And I consciously, first of all, that's not my personality. I'm not an over the top aggressive type of salesperson. Whereas like if I'm door knocking or if I'm prospecting and someone's like, I don't want you anywhere near me, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's just awkward, right?
Yeah. I usually give them a pin on my way out. It just says, "You're awesome." And just take off. Yeah.
Good idea. I like that. But I guess what we were getting at was there's so many different personalities, and the used car salesman type, for lack of a better analogy, to me is a very short-term thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they win. Maybe they have a few wins short-term. Maybe they beat you out on a listing because of how aggressive they were and a client felt intimidated or just kind of liked the bullshit that they were spraying.
Yeah.
But we kind of brought it back to colleagues, that you're going to burn a lot of bridges and your reputation is going to be terrible, which is no recipe for long-term success. Whereas on the other side, treating people with respect and always, regardless of who you're dealing with, clients or other agents in our industry, it just, to me, it wins long-term.
Always.
To me, it's so simple to look at it and just be like, how could this person possibly think that? And I remember when we were at Sutton, there was one guy in particular that did something really, really shady. Basically stole a client that came through an open house that was working with another realtor, that the client had told him that he was working with another realtor.
Yeah.
This person, agent, kind of weaseled them into writing an offer by saying, "Oh, I work with that person all the time. I'll just help them out and write the offer." Anyways.
Oh, man.
Obviously stole the deal to double end it. And the agent that was working with this client had obviously found out and sent a pretty nasty email. And this person's response was, "It's a shark tank out there. You better swim."
Yeah.
And my response is just like, okay, one, obviously this agent is going to tell every other agent they know. So your reputation is completely fucked now.
Yeah.
Within the local industry. But how could you possibly think that a small paycheck is going to help you long term by screwing people over?
Well, yeah.
How brutal is that?
Well, yeah, I experienced that early on in my career too. And, I didn't have a whole lot of clients so like each one was, worth their weight in gold to me. And I had this guy rip one of them off of me. I went to an open house, similar situation like that. And I found out who it was. And I had just moved here from Kamloops, just got my licensing. And I called him and I called his office. And just like, it's how not to handle the situation. But I was brand new and I came from a very different industry. And, I told him, I'm like, I am not like your typical realtor. Like, I will come to your office and bounce your fucking head off of your desk several times. Like, I'm not afraid of you, and that's really not the way to deal with issues, as I found out. But yeah, it was like, for him, it was just like, what, this is just how business is done. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, well, you know, any property that you have, I will never show it, or if I do, and you know, depending on the market that we're in, I will make sure your clients pay for what you've done. Like, because you know, like, that's just it. And so, like, to this day, you know, if I see that guy around, it's still a problem. This is like 8 years later. And I don't have that problem with anyone I've done business with. There isn't a single agent over the last 8 years, and like, I mean this, there isn't a single agent that I have done anything remotely like that to. Like, I've never put a paycheck over my own personal values and my own integrity. You know, my father would, I just wouldn't even look my dad in the eye, right? So, yeah, and that's what matters more to me than a paycheck. And trust me, sometimes those paychecks would have been pretty all right when you're eating dog food in your first couple of years, right? But
we will definitely get into that.
Oh yeah, the dog food thing. Yeah. I
think that so many people value that short-term reward and don't think long-term. And I feel like I'm pretty lucky in my career to have realized early on that long-term success is so much more important to me than a small short-term win. And most people don't think that way, I've found. So always stepping outside of a situation, saying, if I handle myself this way, is that going to benefit me in 10 years from now, or is that going to hurt my reputation 10 years from now?
Exactly.
And in most situations, for whatever reason, that goes through my head. And whether that is like some sort of character positive that I have that a lot of people don't, but I see it the other way a lot, especially in sales industries. Yeah,
well, it's like, I'm not sure how long they're planning their career to be, but a career to me is going to be more than, 3 to 6 months. And if you just walk around, bending people over, you're going to get shanked in the prison, right? And it's literally where we all are. We're all inmates in this real estate prison that we're in. So we all have to get along, right? Or you're going to get shanked. The real estate prison that we're in.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Okay, you're editing this, right? Okay, great.
It's not live.
That's fantastic.
But I'd prefer to keep the real estate prison in there because that's pretty fun.
Getting shanked.
Someone's getting shanked. Don't cross Liam Rines. On the way over here, Liam, I was trying to figure out exactly when we connected, and I think it was at the Christmas party last year?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess it's almost been a year. I thought it was like 6 months. Anyway, I've really grown to love you, and your personality is addictive almost. Like, you're just a fun dude to hang out with. And I know we've chatted really briefly about your first year, and I know I've given you a little bit about my first year, but a lot of who we're trying to appeal to with this show based on experiences is entrepreneurs,
yes,
new people that are either thinking about becoming self-employed or early on in their careers,
and the realities,
100%
true realities of it.
I always say social media is the glorified version of entrepreneurship.
Everybody's a fucking rock star on social media, man.
Whereas I really want to expose what actually goes on day to day.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what I'm excited about.
Oh yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit more about. Well, I guess start with why you moved from Kamloops to Vancouver, why real estate was your choice.
Okay.
And in general, why self-employment?
Okay, this is these will be fun. So why move to Vancouver? Why does any man do anything? Truly.
A woman,
of course.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Of course. And what made me kind of turn my eye from, automotive sales, I had a pretty good career with Mercedes in the interior.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I met I was gonna date me. I met a woman on MySpace. MySpace, and she had this little blog that she wrote about because she was an entrepreneur as well. She was a real estate agent, and she wrote this blog about getting her dental work done at UBC. because of the dental college at UBC,
Okay.
and it was hilarious. I mean, I had many laugh out loud moments reading this. So we kind of reached out and we started talking a bit, and we ended up getting into a relationship with each other. And it was one of the times that she came to visit me, and I think I made like about $100,000 a year or something like that, and I felt like I was like a pretty big fish, and rolling around in Kamloops and doing all right. And this little girl rolls up, fucking Shannon. Yeah, I'll tell you all about Shannon. I should probably tag her in this. Anyway, so she had like we were going somewhere, and we were in her car, and she's like, "Hey, can you hand me the map? Okay, this is how long ago this was, right? Like, can you hand me the map from the glove box?"
One of those big fold-out things.
It was made of paper. It's made from trees. Can you imagine? There was a time when we made things out of trees. It was crazy. So I opened it up, and there was like 4 or 5 checks for like anywhere between like 10 to like 20 grand in her glove box. And I was like, what are these? And she's like, oh, I've just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to cash them. And I'm like, it's like $50,000 in here, and you're just too fucking busy to like drop by the bank and put them in. So my testicles went from like, I thought they were like pretty big to like literally the size of raisins. And I'm like, felt like a very, very small fish. And that's what I was like, you know what, maybe I should look into this whole real estate thing. And, we've done a long distance thing for about a year. And then, yeah, so I'm like, you know what, I was in love with her, and I wanted to, to be with her and, move to the coast and kind of get started on this whole real estate thing.
I feel like I need to reach out to Shannon and personally thank her for encouraging you to get into real estate so that I met you.
Well, you can thank her or just my fucking ego, because like that's the thing that took a pounding and decided that I should, at least explore this. But yeah, I mean, reaching out to Shannon is always a good thing. She's she might be somebody you might want to interview on this too, because she was one of those mentors to me as well, right? And I've over like 10 years ago, I guess, but I've maintained she's one of my best friends, yeah. And yeah, and integrity.
Carl, can you text Shannon right now? Tell her we want her on the show tomorrow.
Well, she moved to Nanaimo, but I'm sure she'd pop over for this for sure. Oh yeah. And she's a great storyteller as well. Yeah.
Does she like whiskey? It's basically okay. So people that are listening to podcasts aren't seeing that we drink a fair amount of whiskey during these shows.
Yeah.
And one, it's because I really love whiskey, but two, I think it makes the conversation better.
Oh, for sure. Oh, 100%. Well, like some of the best conversations we've had are, of course, at our whiskey tastings.
Have we ever hung out sober? I can't remember a time.
Well, I mean, we're fairly well behaved at these whiskey tastings. I wouldn't consider us to be. I wouldn't consider us to be hammered. Now the whiskey tastings that I want to fire up again in Poco, that I want you to be a part of.
I'd love to.
Those we finished the bottles at those ones.
See, that is my biggest regret with the group that I put together for my whiskey night.
They're gentlemen.
People have 3 drinks and go home.
They're gentlemen. So
at 8:00.
Yeah.
Like, there's 2.5 bottles of whiskey left. What are we doing here?
So what we do is we draw straws, right? Mm-hmm. And to see who wins the bottle at like whatever bottles we're showcasing at that time, and whoever wins the bottle, you have the choice. You can either leave it for your friends to finish or take it home. Let me tell you.
Most of the time it's not coming
nobody's bringing it home. Nobody's bringing it home. Oh man. Yeah, that way I had this date one time, and these are a bunch of like old realtors, right, that we do this whiskey tasting thing with, and I met this chick on Bumble, and
Okay, so we've updated from MySpace to Bumble now.
Oh, I'm on all of them now. I'm on all of them now. Yeah. I wasn't on anything for the longest time.
For anyone that's like new to online dating, what's the most successful platform?
Humor.
No, platform.
Oh, platform.
Like app.
Well,
of course, humor. Humor and confidence goes a long way.
Of course, right? Yeah, of course, and like tons of dick pics. No, I'm kidding. Nobody likes dick pics. Just dog pics. Yeah, dog pics. Dog pics go so much farther.
Dogs do win, don't they?
Dogs go so much farther than dicks. Yeah. What's successful? Like what is considered a success? I guess that's the question. I mean, Tinder is good for.
You can have a couple different categories. It's up to you.
Yeah,
This is your show, Liam.
Oh my God. Is it? All right. No, there's different.
So the best hookup app is
hookup. Probably Tinder.
I'm guessing that was one of the categories.
I think Tinder's like if it just Remember like the flight attendant conversation we had?
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah, that's a Tinder thing.
And if you're looking for something maybe a bit more term,
a bit more real, I think Bumble's pretty good for that. I feel like people are, or the ladies that are on there, because they have to respond first on Bumble once you match.
Right.
They're a little bit more prone to be invested in something real, whereas, my favorite, good old flight attendants are they're into something else entirely.
Fun fact about Denny.
Tell me.
Never signed up for any sort of online dating.
Well, we're going to change that, my friend. How are we going to double date if, you're not getting some? So
I may have a date to bring, Liam.
Well, let me tell you, man. I have some people that might be interested in you. Oh, yeah.
Tell them I'm currently unavailable.
Really? Okay. This is let's explore this.
Uh-oh.
I'd like to hear more about this. So, tell me all about it.
Are we switching? Are you asking the questions then?
Well, I'm gonna dig into this one.
All right, let's give a real quick summary here. Met a girl at a friend's wife's birthday party.
Okay.
Was pretty mesmerized when she walked in the door.
Mesmerized.
She's beautiful.
That's deep.
For whatever reason, she sat across the table from me. We chatted for a lot of the evening.
Okay.
And we've been hanging out quite a bit since.
Oh, okay. How long is this? When was that?
A couple weeks ago.
Brand new.
She came to the Seahawks game with me last week.
Oh.
Weekend.
I don't have my phone with me, otherwise I'd be looking at all the photos.
There was quite a few.
I'm gonna find her. Well, this is fantastic. The idea that someone of your caliber would.
Okay, let's stop right there.
Hold on.
Fuck off with caliber. I'm a fucking regular white dude.
You're one of the most positive humans I've ever met. You're like if Mr. Rogers kind of had sex with Tony Robbins, and you're like the love child. You're like Mr. Robbins and Tony, or Mr. Rogers and Tony Robbins, like love child. Yeah.
Carl, can we come up with some sort of creative way to say on my Instagram profile at the top the mix of
love child
Mr. Rogers and Tony Robbins?
Love child of.
Yeah. Some good quotes. Wow. Okay.
Oh my God.
That is a weird image in my head right now.
Yeah. Well, just there's gonna be a sweater vest and a big smile. That's Tony Robbins got that big smile, and Mr. Rogers has got that sweater vest.
All right. Let's come back to reality here.
All right.
First year in real estate.
First year in real estate.
This is exciting for me.
Oh God.
I love talking to people about the grind. For me, the most impressive thing that humans can do is overcome adversity. Because so many people can't do it. Anyway, that's why I always ask about first year, regardless of whether you're a realtor, had a couple mortgage brokers, like whatever industry you're in, the first year or two is just an absolute crazy nightmare / perfect dream, right? That's how I describe it. I'm like, it's the worst and the best thing of all time, because I think back to mine and I'm like, I was in a weird headspace, but for whatever reason, every day I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to be good at this thing. And I had no idea what I was doing. But now I look back and it's such a cool experience to have gone through and be able to see that I was capable of getting through that type of craziness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows you it exposes you. I mean,
yeah.
you're 100% laid bare because you're you don't know how you're gonna pay your bills. I mean, I blew through most of my life savings in like the first few months just trying to get like up and running and like surviving. And at that particular time, the industry was not hot. Yeah. So
How long have you been in real estate?
Oh man, it's. I think I got licensed. It's in between like 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
But I know that when I moved here, it was right in, and when I got licensed, it was like right in the middle of the U.S. shitstorm 2008. So I moved here to Buchanan, and I did my licensing. It took me about 8 months to get through that.
Okay.
And Shannon and I broke up right when I got licensed, which was awesome. I've been coming here, visiting her on and off for like a year or 2 years. And so all my friends were my direct competition. One of the cool things with her, though, was that when we broke up, I was like looking for, which firm I'm going to join, right? And KW was her thing. And they had like Keller Williams has like an insane education program for new agents. And so she was like, okay, I know we just broke up, but I can't have you go to any other firm to start with. She's like, so, we'll just work out of the same office. So, I mean, that took some cojones to be like, to be okay with that, like your fresh ex-boyfriend, like working out of the same office as you. So, I mean, I'll be eternally grateful to her for that. But yeah, so move here, get my license, and then we split. So I'm like on my own, living in like just renting some shitty house in like in Poco with like my landlord lived above me. He was this like Fijian surfer dude that I like kind of fucking hated. And so yeah, so I was like 100% on my own in the middle of like one of the worst downswings, economic downswings North America has seen since the Great Depression. I mean, it was nobody was buying anything, and it was tough. So the grind, man. Yeah, I remember like the very first time, like I got my license. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put on Facebook. I'm a licensed agent now, and business is just gonna start flowing in. It doesn't start flowing in, and when I saw like some like close family members like working with other agents and selling their house, I'm like, the fuck, like I got my license and like I'm here to help you, and like, yeah, well, you're a little green and this is kind of like a big deal, so we're just gonna work with the agent that we kind of had. I'm like, so I mean, your own family members are working with other people. It was tough, man. Like that first year was brutal. First cold call I made was to a for sale by owner. Yeah. And I mean, I must have been like the 100th agent to call this woman. And, I remember like I looked up her name and I couldn't pronounce it properly. So like I looked it up online and how to pronounce it properly, and, like any racial connotations that go with it. And, I did like 15 minutes of back research on this one name before I like make this cold call. And then I call her and I'm like, hey, this is Liam Rines with Keller Williams Elite Realty. Just giving you a call. Here, you had your house for sale. And she's, what? She interrupts me. What? Are you a realtor? And I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am. Actually, I am. And she's like, fuck you. She screams into the phone. Literally, I'm in the bullpen in my new office. Screams in the phone, fuck you, stop fucking calling me. And I'm like, oh man, like I literally had to pull the phone away from my head, and like people in the bullpen heard it through the receiver of the phone, and so like I just hung up, and I was like, this is the first cold call I ever made. Very first time I did anything like this, and I just sat there and I'm like, okay, so I can give up cold calling and just never do this again ever. Or I can just get back on the phone and just keep hammering some stuff out. So, as it turned out, there was a recent sale on a building in North Burnaby, and I just pulled up the whole building on listing there, and just started drilling out some calls, and so I got my first listing. So I got my first listing on the first day that I did a cold call, where the first cold call literally just like nutted me hard. Like it was a AV castration for about like 2 hours before I was like trying to like refigure like, is this the right career for me, or like is it from one phone call? One phone call can kick you in the nuts like that and take the wind completely out of your sails. So
okay, that right there is what I'm obsessed with. How you go from such dramatic rejection to switching in your head being like, fuck it, I'm just going to keep going. How does that process work?
Well, for me...
That's what I love, because I think everyone deals with rejection and negativity very differently. So that's what I like exploring, because I learn so much when people explain what goes through their head and the process that they go through to get out of that negative mindset.
Totally. So what helped me at the time is I still smoke cigarettes. So that I'm gonna say like
I wasn't expecting that.
I'm gonna be like, you know, I think like 90% of what got me over that was probably like a menthol cool. Like I went outside and sucked a dart back, and then I think that kind of like brought me down.
Were you outside with other agents at the time, just like hacking a dart, being like, "Man, this is a grind. This business."
I went
after one cold call.
After one, yeah. The leads are weak. Leads are weak. Yeah, no, it was. I went for a walk like around the block, and I was like just trying to like reassess and like, I think I just let my family down. I let like myself down. You just go into some like intense places, and it just snowballs. And if you don't get ahead of that snowball, if you don't like stop that snowball, or just dive back in, then yeah, you know, if I'd maybe given it another 2 hours worth of thought, that could have shaped things completely differently as well. But you know, when you get punched, like I grew up doing martial arts and boxing and stuff, and you get hit, you get two choices: like you're just gonna lay down, or you're gonna get back up, right?
What?
And that's.
Was there something specific in your... I don't know if you can remember back to this. Was there something specific in your head that you go from, like, I just need to keep going? Because I have something very specific that I think about every single time I have rejection or some negative event in my life.
Well, the one thing that really sticks in my head is that I told myself it's never going to be that bad again.
I like that's a good
so
one.
so
yeah, totally,
I'm like, well, I literally just got like the worst call out of the way. So like the next one can't be that bad. Yeah. And if it is, then it's just like it breaks down again to the numbers game, right? And that's what cold calling is. Cold calling is a numbers game. You get your calls in, and they kind of cover that in the Red Book with they kind of cover that in the Red Book, and that's I was a very devout follower of Gary Keller's MREA Red Book, and when it came down to, you know, like the number of calls, it's just a matter of time. You just have to keep hammering them out. So that's kind of what stuck with me then.
So you had read that book
prior.
Okay.
Prior. Yeah.
So that was part of the reason that you're like, I just need to keep going. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
This is what I read about. There's always going to be negative cold calls, but you just have to keep going.
I also did a course, like a pretty cool KW course called Quantum Leap. And in that course, it was actually being taught by Mo Anderson, who's like legendary KW alumni. And that woman has done some amazing things. So I was like so deep into the Kool-Aid that I think that's what also helped carry me through, right? Was just a belief in the numbers and a firm belief in, if you just keep making those calls, if you just keep knocking on those doors, eventually something's good's going to happen. And even if it doesn't, you're still working. And one of the hard parts of this industry is like, and especially for those young new licensees, you get your license and you're like, all right, cool. And you sit down at the computer and go, well, fuck, now what? You know, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I should be doing. So even like those days early on when I was making those phone calls or knocking on doors or whatever I was doing, at least at the end of the day, and this will kind of tie into, again, more of my first year. At the end of the day, you can go home and you can put your head on your pillow and feel like you've actually fucking done something. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can be a real battle in this industry too. For sure. Is you get home, you've been at the office or done whatever it is you're doing for 6 to 8 hours. And you get home, you're like, what the fuck did I just do? Did I do anything productive? And then your mind starts going. You're like, well, have I helped myself? I don't even know what, and then those thoughts can start spiraling and snowballing, and then next thing you know, you've gone from like, yeah, I feel like I had like a pretty good day, like I did some shit, and then like, 30 minutes into your own mind, you're just like, I'm a piece of shit, I'm not doing anything, what the fuck have I done with my life? And yeah, it can be dangerous in that regard, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense.
It totally is. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, so I want to share it with you. I say it on a lot of podcasts because it's so relevant in so many situations for me, and I think for a lot of people, is whenever I have a negative situation, whether it's, use yours as an example. First cold call I ever made, someone swears at me and hangs up. It's very negative.
I'd like to make it clear that I hung up on her. Okay. Yeah. No. Fuck that bitch. Anyway, go on.
So what goes through my head, and I have no idea where this came from, but it goes through my head every single time I'm in a negative situation, is what's my alternative? So my two options are, one, that was a terrible experience. I don't want to experience that ever again. I'm not going to cold call anymore. And I'm going to try to find another way out, or I'm going to dwell on how bad that situation was, and it's going to affect me very negatively, and my career that I want to have is not going to exist. On the other side, which I don't like that side at all. No. So I never choose that side. But on the other side, I could keep fucking cold calling. I could call 3,000 people in the next 3 weeks. And one of them might say yes. And then I get an opportunity to sell a house. And then I work my ass off to sell this house, and I do a good job. They love me. I sell the house. I get a paycheck, but they love me. So they also tell me, or they express to their friends and family that they loved me. And now I have a referral out of it. So I always, for whatever reason, I always pull myself out of a situation. I think about the two options and I say, this is a terrible option. I don't want this option. This is the good option. This is where I want to go. And I go that way.
Talked to me about something very similar. He's like, he told me about switch cost.
Okay.
Switch cost. What happens if I don't? And
it's the exact same thing.
That is, man. And that was later on that I learned about switch cost, and what happens, like that pain pleasure threshold, and what happens if you don't. And that was awesome. But yeah, that's it, man. Like that's what kind of carries you through. And if you don't have that, and like I'm a fixator, whether it's a relationship or whether it's business or it's something, I fixate. And when I fixate on that, whether it's negative or positive, sometimes it's hard to pull myself out of it. But yeah, I mean, trying to fixate, of course, on the positive, and that things are going to be all right. Like that's a great way to be. However, sometimes you're just not that lucky, and you end up fixating on.
I don't know where it came from for me. Maybe it was sports growing up. Maybe it was
sports will have a huge impact on that for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe and in sports, I was always pretty good in terms of direct competition, but I never won things. So I always I have a couple big losses that I remember very, very clearly, and for whatever reason that motivates the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And so I look back and what was the exact, what did you just say? What was the exact thing that you just said? Because I had a great story about that, but I can't remember.
About switch cost? What happens if you don't?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just that, this coach told me, it sucks to, and it hurts to make those calls. It hurts to have doors slammed in your face. It hurts to, have people hang up on you. But what happens if you don't? How much more is that going to hurt? and yeah, that's it. I mean, you can have people hanging up on you and slamming doors in your face, or you can sit at the office and drink coffee and do absolutely fucking nothing at all. And what's going to hurt more in the end? What's going to hurt more in the end is that's true failure. That's failure.
What you're saying though is that you experience a negative situation and you think a lot about the negative situation.
Fixation.
And you get exactly. Yeah. You get fixated on it. So I don't know. Again, I don't know where this comes from. Maybe it's sports. Maybe it's losing a shit ton when I was a kid, and just being like immune to the feeling of a loss. I don't understand why that came up in me.
That's amazing.
But for whatever reason, whenever I have those negative thoughts, and I go back to my first year and I think almost every morning you wake up and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I have no lead generation. I have nothing on my plate right now. But I'm going to fold these 400 letters and I'm going to walk around a neighborhood and toss them in mailboxes.
Oh, yeah.
For whatever reason, my mind, whenever I have those negative thoughts, it flips so quickly. And it's like, fuck you, Denny. This is literally what I say in my head. Fuck you, Denny. You're soft. You need to keep doing this because you're going to dominate.
Yep.
It's so strange, and I know it's not a normal thing because I've had this conversation with a lot of people. And I don't know where it comes from. So like, that's why I want to pick your brain more, because this is a very big issue in society on like mental health.
Yeah. And it's like
and how you get through and how your brain thinks. What the fuck's going on? I think there's an earthquake going on. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, that's cool.
And how you get through those like super negative situations is absolutely mind blowing to me, because for whatever reason it's natural to me. And again, it might be the sports background and having a few really big losses in my sports career that I think about constantly, but have made me so numb to the actual feeling of the loss. So one quote I always say, Liam, is I hate losing with a passion. Like I hate it so much, but I love what it does to me. And so the way I reverse engineer that is I'm numb to the loss. I'm numb to the actual feeling that it produces. But what I take from it is a great learning experience, and I work harder because of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense at all, but like in my head, it's a crazy tool that for whatever reason I've been given by something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, it's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Exactly.
Like literally. I like to harken back to the Riddle of Steel, a la Conan, circa 1983.
Yeah.
Nothing in this world you can trust. Not man, nor beast, nor woman. But this you can trust, as Conan's father points to his sword. I'm kidding. I don't know how that doesn't make any sense. But I had to incorporate the Riddle of Steel into this podcast. No, man, like that's it. And like some people, I grew up doing sports as well, right? And yeah, I had some pretty big losses too. But everybody's mind works differently, and everybody's mind will use different ways to cope and to grow, right? For me, what got me through those first couple years was my dog. 100%. That little dog is the reason that I'm even still around, to be honest. You can go to work and you get kicked just so many times, and your relationships suck, and you're not making any money, and you just feel like a loser. And in your head, you just keep calling yourself a loser, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you get home and there's this little animal that's super stoked to see you, and you spend an hour walking him or playing with him or whatever, and it takes your mind away from all of that, whether it's reality, that you are in fact a loser, or if it's just you and you're lost, stuck in your head. Really feeling those day-to-day losses and those day-to-day perceived losses. And that's what they are. They're later on you look back and you're like, yeah, they're perceived losses. Not every day is going to be you're taking a listing or you're getting an appointment, and not every day is going to be totally rad. But when you have something like a little dog like that looking, you look forward to seeing at the end of the day, and then that can carry you through. It can just be something so small like that. It could be someone in your office that you respect saying, hey, I see you grinding it out. You're kicking ass, and have them mean it. Because I don't know how many how many fucking people I've seen in the industry that when you're first getting going and you're starving and they're bringing a new agent through the bullpen in the office, and they're like, oh, and there's Liam, he's one of our fucking rock stars, blah 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 blah, and just like playing up, like agents in the office, like we're all totally, making like serious bank and stuff to these new agents just to try and draw them in. And I'm looking at this guy and going like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm eating dog food, motherfucker. Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm a rock star. And that's, that's one of the reasons why I appreciate what you're doing here, is because you're covering the realities of entrepreneurship, and yeah, the realities are there's going to be some lean fucking months. And if you don't experience the lean months, you will not survive in this industry, period. Every single person I know of integrity and value in this industry that I've done business with on a first-hand basis has a story, has a story of paying for fuel in change that they've dug out of their console to get to a listing appointment. Everyone's got a story like that. With me, it was like almost a fist fight with my landlord that lived above me, because I was a day late on my rent, and he was like beating down my door. I'm just like, fuck this guy, and then also like in my head. And by the way, like I paid him when I first moved in there. I paid him like 6 months in advance, just like a shit ton of money. And then like the first time that it was like rent was due after that, it was like a day late on it, and he's like beating down my door, and I'll never forget that feeling as well, because once I kicked his ass back up to his suite upstairs, I was like, I will never be in this position again. Like I will never feel this again. And that was a great motivator as well.
Things I want to uncover, right, is that one, most, if not all people that are self-employed go through this, and they have these mental lapses where they're thinking, can I actually do this or not? But two, what you just said, which was, what did you just say?
Oh, that I kicked my landlord's ass back up to his suite?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That you never want to be in this position again.
Yeah.
So that is what motivates the fuck out of me.
You have to feel it. You have to feel it.
Yes.
And I'm trying to, like, there's so many cases of that. Going to buy groceries and having my card declined. That, like, there was a moment that was, like, so embarrassing for me. Truly embarrassing. Or going into a grocery store and looking at stuff you wanted to be able to buy, and like it's not in your budget. You've got, like, you just bought signs, you just got your website up and running, and yeah. So I know you want to ask me about the dog food thing.
Do you know what my first year was like?
No. Okay, tell me. Yeah.
So you're talking about groceries.
Yeah.
So
yeah, groceries. Yeah.
I was not financially prepared for real estate at all whatsoever.
Oh God, neither was I, man. Nobody is. But no, nobody is.
Not many people were as poorly prepared as I was, I think. I went into it with about 10 grand worth of savings.
Oh, well.
Is that more or less than me?
I think you're up about 5 grand on me, man.
Yeah. So you burned through that pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so about 2 months in, I realized that I don't have any money, nor do I have any completions coming up. So I don't have any paychecks in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And so I put myself on a $4 a day food budget.
That's amazing.
$4. So literally my meals consisted of Mr. Noodles, which if you buy in a 24 pack, they're like 70 cents each.
Fantastic.
Just if you're wondering.
This is good for me to know. For now.
It was literally like Mr. Noodles craft dinner. It was bullshit. It was like craft dinner. If you buy a 12 pack craft dinner, it's like $1
Are you
each.
telling me that you had milk and butter to like add to that KW?
Yes.
Well, you were living pretty high on the horse, my friend.
But that's $4 a day, man.
That's pretty high on the horse. Right. I'm kidding. No, I'm no. That fucking sucks. That sucks. It is shitty, man. It is shitty, but it has to be shitty because
that's the best part, right? You look back at that shit and you're like, what motivates me is that I never, ever, ever want to be there ever again.
That's true. But what also is pretty fantastic is to know that if you ever are, you can fucking hack it.
You can do it.
You can do it.
Totally.
I took a tremendous
Isn't that
amount.
Fucking exciting.
It's one of the reasons that I'm still okay with what's going on presently with my career, because I took a shit ton of time off. I had like a lot of real nasty shit kind of go down in my personal life, and yeah, I took a lot of time off, and one of the only things that's like getting me through it, like, by the way, for young licensees, you know, you do pretty good, and that's awesome. I do not suggest taking like a year and a half or 2 years off of your business, and like kind of walking away from it and just expecting to jump back in and have it be totally bitchin'. Because guess what? It's not gonna be totally bitchin', and you're gonna have to grind again to get it back up there.
Can we explore that?
Sure.
Because I think mental health is a bigger problem than people actually think it is. It's just not talked about as much as it probably should. And personally, I don't really understand it because I've been lucky enough to be able to work myself out of those negative situations.
On your own?
Yes.
Wow. That's rad.
And I say lucky because I know that other people don't deal with it as well as I did. So just to give a little bit of background, Liam took a year and a half off real estate, just dealing with some mental stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a specific event that kind of pushed you into that hole at all?
I think it was a culmination of a few years worth of things. But yeah, I mean, like why does a man do anything? Yeah. Harkening back to the beginning of our conversation. For love of a woman, of course. So yeah, so I had my heart broken, just like in a really, really bad way, and it broke something in me, like completely. And so yeah, so I started off with like I was just gonna take a vacation off, and like I hadn't spent a whole lot of time with my parents because I've been building this business for, you know, a number of years, and so I spent a lot of time at home with my mom and my father, and then I went on vacation, and then, you know, I mean, like I still had deals coming in because I've been in the industry for a while, and it was enough to get by, but, you know, it wasn't like I was actively seeking and building like I used to. And yeah, so next thing I know, and it's again, it comes down to some of the other things we were talking about, fixation. I was fixated on how broken I felt, and how much it hurt, and literally every day. And this is like something this isn't work related, but you know, you just wake up sometimes and you're like surprised you woke up, and then you're also like kind of bummed out you did too. And that was my day-to-day life for about a year and a half, where I just was, every day was pain.
Well, like, yeah. What I'm curious about is, what is the thought process like as you're going through that day-to-day? Because it's a long period of time.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
Yeah. Well, you know, you kind of go between...
And are you seeking help at that point? Are you like communicating this type of stuff with friends and family?
I'm an Irish guy. We just gonna deal with this shit on our own.
Which is why I'm wearing this shirt.
Yeah, I know. I love that. that you chose to wear that shirt. It's wonderful. You know, I had a lot of help from my family. And I didn't realize how much I'd scared them through that time. But you know, like if your son calls you 3 to 4 times a day, and you're talking on the phone with him for, you know, 2 hours a time, there's some shit going on that needs to be addressed, right?
Did they know you weren't working at the time too?
They knew I'd taken a bunch of time off. I mean, we just sold out like a $28 million project or whatever, so I had no funds were not a problem at all. And then I went to Mexico for a month just to try and get away and get myself sorted, and that helped a bit. It did a bit, but I mean, you can kick the can down as far as the road as far as you like, but you're eventually gonna have to deal with your shit. Yeah.
Okay, so that's something I want to explore. You just had like this big opportunities sale, selling out a $28 million project, which is like career changing for a lot of people in our industry. How, or like, did you think about that as a positive, or how did that not affect the mood that you were in at that time? Because to me, that's like a high five, pop champagne. Like that's a big.
Trust me, I popped a lot of champagne in Mexico. A lot. I still, to this day, if anybody wants to write you and tell me what 9,000 pesos is in Canadian funds, that would be great. Because I bought like a shit ton of magnums of champagne at this music festival in Playa del Carmen. And I still don't know what 9,000 pesos is in Canadian funds, and I kind of don't want to know.
God, can you Google that?
Yeah,
Like
if you could,
9,000 pesos.
Fuck.
I'm gonna guess.
When I came back to Canada,
I guess it's like $140. Yes.
it was a magnum of Dom.
600.
600 US.
600 Canadian.
600 Canadian. Okay.
Oh man, yeah.
400 US.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, there was a bunch of those. There was a bunch. Yeah, I rented this like.
That was a pricey trip.
Oh yeah, when I got back, I went to my bank. And I just went in and I'm like, look, I don't know what my visa is right now, and I don't want you to tell me. I just want you to transfer from my checking account to it. Just pay it off. I don't want to know how much it is. I'm telling you now. Do not tell me what it is. I just don't care. Just transfer the funds, and I'm fucking out of here, and it's cool. So yeah, so that was it. On the upside, I now know some pretty sick little places in Playa del Carmen to hang out in, and we should probably go.
I was just gonna say I feel like we have a trip ahead of us.
I think we need to. I think I'm going to do my 40th there next year, but we should go before then.
I'm okay with 2 Mexico trips.
Well, I mean, you didn't invite me to tacos today for fucking what's his face's birthday, so I guess we're gonna have to have our tacos.
It was a last minute thing, man. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
All right.
I didn't plan it. I was just there for
okay.
the event to take selfies and Instagram stories.
Yeah,
That's
no.
what I was invited for.
No, everybody was there. And I saw everybody there.
Liam's like an honorary Garbaduma member.
Fuck yes, I am. You're goddamn right. Any business I ever do or take in New Westminster, I'm running by you guys first.
Happy to help.
100%.
Happy to help all the time.
100%. All right, what are we moving on to?
We're not moving on because I still want
Whiskey's
to.
glorious, by the way.
I know. So tonight, Liam and I, because of our Irish heritage, are you 100% Irish?
Me mother was from
Your mother's
Dublin.
Irish.
Yeah, and my father is like Mr. Canada.
I'm only 25%, but it's the heritage that I associate most with because I like whiskey.
No.
So I just associate myself with the Irish.
Ishka is how it's pronounced in Ireland. Yeah. And
cheers
slancha.
to
And slancha. And slancha to Carl here. You Norwegian motherfucker.
So the three of us are enjoying
Gargantuan Swede.
a delicious Tullamore Dew Caribbean rum cask finish. Whatever the fuck that means.
Well, it means that
It's
after we
delicious.
finish this, we're going to go out for like a goat roti.
Perfect.
And also, I'd like to point out that we're drinking from my grandmother's hand-cut Waterford crystal glasses.
These are phenomenal, by the way.
They are incredible.
They're so beautiful.
They're so beautiful, and because of their age, there's likely a high lead content in the glass. So
this may or may not be our last podcast.
ooh. It's just like eating paint chips when we were kids.
Fair enough.
I just roll that off like it's a common thing. Oh yeah, it's like we ate a lot of leaded paint when we were children. Are you gonna ever
we go.
invite me back? I don't know.
100%.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Just
Cool.
based on your whiskey consumption alone.
Oh fuck.
Okay. A couple things I do want to attack though.
Let's do it.
In that year and a half off, what was the day-to-day like in terms of thought process? Was it positive and negative? Was it all negative? Was it like, I'm not doing as well as I want. My career is going down, was it a lot of negative mixed in with like, okay, Liam, snap out of it? Or was it just like negative, deeper into this hole?
I'm gonna say for the first 6 months, real estate was literally the last thing on my mind. I mean, I had literally just finished, that project, which I did with a partner and a very great human and good friend of mine. That should have been, like one of the high points of my career and a total fucking high five moment. And it should have been so positive, but because I fixate I was fixated on the shittiness of my personal pain, and it stole all of the joy out of what should have been a fucking, you know, like a home run hit. And that's what I was stuck in. And I was stuck in the fixation and the round, and the downward spiral of negative thought, to a level, like I said, where I was like, you know, I'd call my mom, or sure, more accurately, she would call me, and we'd be on the phone for a couple hours, you know, and I'd just be talking about the same shit over and over and over and over again. You ever see Silver Linings Playbook?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's legitimately how I would deal with that shit, you know. Yeah, like barring running around my neighborhood with a garbage bag over my tracksuit when I would use exercise a ton. Yeah, and just I floated between this. In the first couple months, I floated between fixation and delusion on the personal aspect of things, and there was very, very little thought given to my business at all. I mean, I didn't really have to worry about money, basically, for like a year if I didn't want to, you know. I mean, it was 26 to 28 million bucks, I think, for that particular project, and you know, checks are rolling in for like the next 8 months, so you know, money wasn't a problem, and that's also how I learned money doesn't really make you happy. Mm-hmm. I could buy anything I wanted. I could go anywhere I wanted to go. I could do anything I wanted with money. Mm-hmm. Did it make me happy? Nope. Not at all. Not in that moment. No way. I mean, there was a transient quality to it, and that it just didn't matter, you know. Like I would, oh fuck, should I say this? Yeah, okay. So you know, I would do I would spend money on things that just didn't matter, and in hopes of like trying to heal some of the wounds from what I was feeling and going through. And you know, it would mean nothing at all to drop like a couple grand on zipping down to Bellingham and staying at some like really, really nice like boutique-y spa, but it's kind of a shitty thing. It's kind of a shitty spa, and like I'm not really into it. The only reason I'm there is that I'm hoping that, like, you know, I might run into my ex, you know, and I would like drop everything, spend thousands to do that. And that's how fixated I was on trying to repair that. And there was really no point in doing it at all. But because I was fixated on it, it just seemed like the right thing to do. Did it heal me in any way? Did the money help? Nope. Not at all. The money didn't help.
Was it almost a hindrance?
Almost. Yeah. I mean, what happens when you give a junkie like a bunch of fucking heroin, exactly. Right? That's what I was thinking. That was pretty much it. You know, on the upside, I got to spend some time down there with people that actually really do matter, and that solidified a lot of like Jeff and Megan, their little beautiful daughter Harper. These are my friends in the States, in Washington State, and like, I really want you to come down with me to Bellingham. I mean, love to. Yeah, you need to meet Harper. I haven't even met Harrison, my friend Jeff's son. These people are salt of the earth. They got me through. My friend Jeff got me through so much more of this shit than having like a completely stacked bank account ever could. You know, it was conversations with my friends. It was conversations with my family. It was my dog. It was having people that actually care about me, that were there for me. Like, that's what got me through. Having a shit ton of money in my bank account, you know, that didn't mean anything. And in the end, when you really, 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 really need help, your money's not going to do it for you, you know? It almost is a hindrance. You should have seen my bar at that time. Oh my God. It was incredible.
Where did it all go? Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I obviously didn't know you at that time, so I like picking your brain about that stuff. But
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
I've only known you for a year, and
Which is funny.
To even think about the Liam that I know in that position it doesn't really make sense to me, because like who I know you as is a really positive guy, someone that I really like being around, a fun dude to even just like chat and share stories with. So even listening to you explaining that situation is almost frightening for me, that a guy that I know in your position, who is now back on top in my opinion, like doing really well again, went through that for 2 years. It's a bit frightening.
Well,
and so really what I want to find out, what is exciting to me is what got you from the bottom to where you are now. Was there like one big event that switched it all? Was it just friends like you were talking about who kind of were just super supportive and helped you out of it?
Well, yes, it is those things. But it also should be noted that whatever your particular darkness is, whether it's rejection or it's pain from a breakup, whatever it is that you mostly feel. I mean, everybody's got a spot that really sticks. Mm-hmm. It could be business rejection. It could be it could be bipolarism. It could be anything. Mm-hmm. Whatever your particular darkness is, because we each all feel it in a different way, from different areas. You know, like for me, I needed to understand that, yeah, like I was gutted and it wrecked me for a while. And then I got into another relationship later on, and that one hurt me. That one wrecked me. But instead of like wrecking me for 2 years, it wrecked me for, I don't know, like fucking 3 months, or it hurt for 3 months or whatever. So for me, understanding that like this particular type of hurt affects me more than, like having that woman fucking freak out at me over the phone, you know, like that was a couple hours, you know, if I get invested with someone or especially like in my last case with someone and their child, who I really liked that kid. He was a great little kid. Pretty awesome. But yeah, so that hurt for a couple months. Whereas before it hurt for like a year before I started to really seek help, mm-hmm. and to kind of get me through that. So like understanding that, this might be a lifelong thing. You're never going to get to a point if this is the particular type of hurt that you feel and it affects you as deeply as it affects me. You'll never be at a point in your life where it's just going to roll off your back.
Right.
No.
Right.
No. So for me, that type of hurt, that type of relationship hurt or whatever, like that's what really guts me, and that's what I have a hard time with. So I can learn tools to minimize that kind of pain, but I'm never gonna be at the point where it's just like, yeah, whatever, fuck you, next. You know.
Is there any specific?
Oh.
Birds are chirping.
I like that.
The sun's coming up. This is how long this podcast is.
It could be. Is it normal? Like, is this like a normal amount of time? Now I'm like, what
That's
the fuck?
Just like podcast over now.
Okay. Yeah.
Birds are chirping.
Shut this shit down.
Liam, is there any specific tools like you mentioned that have assisted in you generating some sort of positive thought out of those situations?
Yeah. Exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Getting back into boxing, into some martial arts, that helped me a lot. And then like choosing to...
What kind of shape were you in before? Because you're in good shape right now.
I was in like realtor shape. You know, like
the way that I think about that is like 51 years old, 60 pounds overweight.
You know, I wasn't like overweight, but as my ex-girlfriend put it, you look like you liked food.
Fair enough. Okay.
So never really knew how to take that entirely. Yeah, you look like you like food. So
you found a lot of positive mentality in exercise.
Well, it's because I used to do a lot of it, right? Like I used to fight all the time. I did a lot of martial arts. Like I didn't realize how much of a solace I took in that. Until it was like taken out, until I just like focused on other things. Even like distance running. I've never been a big distance runner, but when my first year when I had no money, I couldn't afford a gym pass. So what did I do? I ran because that's free, you know. So I did a lot. I got really, really good at like, you know, some pretty intense distance running in that time with like my headphones on and like positive affirmations and all sorts of stuff, just like on repeat. And yeah, I found that to be helpful too. But exercise, man. I had enough money that I could afford a trainer for a while there, and that was great, you know, because I could focus on that. And when I was focused on that, as soon as I did it, like first thing in the morning, started my morning off with something so positive as like vigorous, intense exercise, and you start seeing some changes in your body, and the rest of your day just kind of gets a little bit better from that, right?
Do you know my fitness story?
I want to hear it.
I thought I'd share it with you.
I don't know. Go on.
So my first 2.5 years in real estate, I was so over the top obsessed with just working every second of every day that I didn't give a shit about myself. I spent zero time on myself, on my body. And I was a really athletic kid growing up and in university, and I was always in shape. And I got to this point where I was 210. I was feeling sluggish. When I sat down in the car, my underwear flap folded over my jeans. Like,
I know that. I know that. Yeah, I know that.
It was bad. And this flick of the switch for me was so I was married at the time, and January 2017, she moved out. She left. She said, I can't deal with... She told me it was work related, that I worked too much. And I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I cried all the time, every day. And the only release I had from... Like, I still worked a shit ton. Yeah. But the only release I found from that negative emotion was running and working out. So it started as like 10 minutes because I literally couldn't last because I was so out of shape.
You could jog for 10 minutes, yeah.
And I could jog for 10 minutes. I lived close to Queen's Park in New West.
It's beautiful.
So I would go around the park. I wouldn't even make it one time around the park, which is like 2 kilometers. It's so like, it's embarrassing to say now.
That's not, man.
But I just like kept doing it every day because that was my release.
Yeah.
And that was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And it just kept going and going and going, and I got obsessed with it. And now it's just like an automatic part of my day that if I don't run and work out every day, I feel anxious.
Yeah.
And so like I'll plan my days around spending time for this workout.
You have to have it happen. And for me, it has to happen first thing in the morning.
And it's been such a life change. Honestly, looking back, it's been so life changing. It's been the best thing that ever happened to me, is because now I'm like a ridiculous waist size that I don't even understand. Smaller than I was in high school.
Like a 6X.
It's crazy though. It's so crazy because I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years and I run almost every day.
Yeah.
And work out almost every day.
But by the way, I'd like to point out we haven't worked out yet together. And I don't like to change that.
What I love about it is that it's individual, and I like being by myself because that's my let's say an hour 15 every day that I work out and run.
And that you get your own time.
And I answer the phone. I'm bad at running.
Whoa, you answer the phone when you're running?
100%.
Oh, I would take that phone away from you immediatly.
No. I can't turn it off.
Nope.
Can't turn it off.
No, yeah,
I will never turn it off, Liam.
Listen. I will put your phone away. while we're running. Okay, that's happening.
I can't lose an opportunity. I love the opportunity. Anyway,
But you have a voicemail.
For me, fitness has been like game changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that other people can find that release as well.
I need it. Like I've been sick now.
Amazing for me.
I've been sick now. I couldn't make this podcast last week because I was ill, and I'm still not 100%. And I'm like, yesterday I tried to work out a little bit, try to get to the gym, and I think I put like 40 minutes in, and like a bullshit jog on a treadmill, and then like I hate it because I could feel it, and I feel that sluggishness, and I feel that that slowness, and it doesn't just like it's not just the bodily thing. It's like it's a mental thing too.
For sure.
So you make better choices in your day when you start it off by doing something that's
for sure
that positive. Whether it's an affirmation, I know guys that like do affirmations first thing when they wake up, or they write in their gratitude journal, or when you start your day with something as positive as an affirmation, your gratitude journal. Go for a run, go to the gym. Like that's how you start your fucking day before you're even awake yet. You've already got like some of the most like hard, difficult things out of your day, and the rest of your day is going to fall into place. You know. I just said that.
You mentioned something earlier about like money didn't make you happy. The big deal that you had, or the big project sale that you sold out, didn't make you happy.
What makes me happy about money?
What makes you happy right now?
What makes me happy about having money is giving it away. I remember I'm on my parents' it was their 48th wedding anniversary. By the way, they just had their 50th, so I'm gonna have to up it. I think I gave them a check for like 10 grand or something like that. And
okay, so Jamie, business partner Jamie, we're emailing back and forth recently talking about like doing last year we did a Children's Wish Foundation where it's a $10,000 donation, and this kid that has been suffering with some sort of illness, I think last year it was like a 9-year-old kid that had been battling cancer for a while. He wanted to take his family. He wanted to do some big trip with his family. Mm-hmm. Children's Wish Foundation, awesome, by the way. Check it out. Yeah. And so we donate 10 grand, and this kid gets this big wish, and it's such an unbelievable feeling to be in a position.
What is the point for anything else?
To be in a position to help people that aren't as fortunate as you, because I feel extremely, extremely lucky to have the opportunities that I've had in my life. And yes, I've worked my ass off with those opportunities to get where I am now.
You truly have. Yeah.
But I will never forget how lucky I've been to be in a position to even get the opportunities that I've had. So it's such a cool and humbling experience to be able to be in a position to help other people. And that's why I love the podcast platform, is that it's scalable. Mm-hmm. You can get more than one person to listen to it, and you can share experiences that can potentially help other people.
Absolutely.
So that's what I like. Anyway, talking about helping other people, I'm in the exact same boat as you, is that I feel extremely fortunate to be where I am with my upbringing, to be where I am now. And it's such a cool feeling that you get to be able to help someone out like this. And so Jamie and I were talking about doing the same thing again this year, which we're going to be doing. And we're in communication with this charity, and they sent us an email recently with like the kid that we're going to be helping out and their family and like his details. And it's such a fulfilling experience. Isn't that so cool?
How can I help? I mean, oh man, dude,
it's so cool.
Last Christmas party, I paid $500 to have Trevor Street shine my shoes. To shine my shoes to help out that family that got ripped off by that like dirty agent.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's, or Trevor's my old business partner and my friend. His thing is Veterans Transition Network. He's a 2-time Afghan vet, and he dumps a ton of money into helping vets get past that when they can't be deployed anymore, and they're like, what am I going to do? And like, I mean, some of those guys, when you tell them they're unfit for service, and they can't deploy anymore, like they're broken, man. I mean, and they don't know what to do with their lives. So Trevor, this is his big thing. Everybody's got their big thing. I don't have a big thing other than my mom and dad being on fixed income, and having given so much to me through my whole life that I want to give back to them as much as I can. But let me know how I can help with this Make-A-Wish thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a similar story about my parents, but we're running out of time.
Holy shit, are we?
Get into that, we'll get into that next time. Because I feel exactly the same about my parents, is that they gave me so much growing up, and I owe them a ton. And now that I'm in a position to be able to help them, I'm so excited about it.
You drive a Jaguar. I'd like to point that out.
I'm in my car 5 hours a day, man.
Dick move, Liam. You prick.
I do feel like I'm fairly thrifty on most things, but I do like driving a nice car.
I love that. Now, if you can buy me out of my fucking bullshit Acura that I bought because I bought this fucking thing. Okay, we're gonna have some. I'm just gonna
Carl, apparently we're not gonna get an Acura sponsorship anytime soon.
Okay, no. Okay, you know, the car is great. It's fantastic. And if you are dating a woman with a child and she happens to have a couple nieces, then when you're trading in your fucking Benzo, that I fucking love that thing. That ML was the best vehicle I ever had in my life. When you're trading in your ML and you're like looking at a vehicle that's going to support you and your whatever relationship you're in, you look for that 7-seater Acura MDX with the full entertainment package for the little kiddos in the back, and then you buy that. You buy that Acura advanced package.
Sounds like a selfless move to me.
Yeah. It was great. Anyway, then you break up like fucking 6 months later, and you're stuck with a minivan. And that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm driving a minivan.
Yeah, let's move on from this. This sounds negative.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to ask you, Liam.
Yes.
Because basically just because we talked about money not making you happy, that big life-changing, career-changing deal not making you happy, what's the first thing that comes to mind right now that makes you happy today?
My dog. Same thing. Let's go back to the basics. Yeah, and that's it. And that's like the returning back to the basics is what is gonna help me get back to where I was. And that's it. There's very few things that make you happy, genuinely happy, in your heart as you felt when you were a little kid. Remember when you were a little kid, when you felt happy, it was like it was deep and it was like it was in you. Yeah. And there's very few things that make you feel that happy. Like a love of a spouse, love of a family member, love of a pet. What
about a fellow Irishman?
Love of good friendship, and that's fucking that's way up there, and that's huge. We never got into my dog food story, and I'm a little bummed out about that.
Let's save that for round 2.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, man.
Last thing I ask every single guest is to give the final statement of the podcast. So that can be a piece of advice for young entrepreneurs, people just getting into self-employment or thinking about getting into self-employment, or for your situation in our podcast tonight, something that can help you get over those negative mental thoughts.
It's so cliche, but the saying "this too shall pass" is when you're told it, when people feel like you need to hear it, you just want to strangle them. You do. When you're in the middle of your hard times, whether it be business or whatever, and you're struggling, and you feel that, and your friends and your loved ones are around you, and they're like, just hang in there, like this too shall pass. And all you want to do is take your like coffee mug and smash it in their face, or like stab them in the neck with your pen. Yeah. But you need to understand that it will. Whatever shitty thing you're going through in this moment, it will not be the same. It will not feel the same in the next 8 minutes. It will not feel the same in the next 20 minutes. It will not feel the same in the next hour. However dark your situation is, it will not be that way forever. Period.
I bring that back to short-term versus long-term thinking. Short-term, it's the most painful thing you've ever been through. Whereas if you can like pull yourself out of the situation and think about how that's going to affect your life as a whole, it's such a small thing that is so easily overcomable. And that's the reason that I think I'm able to overcome those weird little small negative things that most people dwell on is that I pull myself out of the situation and like look at the whole picture and say, okay, sweet. This is August 23rd, 2018. This small thing is affecting my mindset today, but is that going to affect me in 2 years from now? Am I going to remember this small thing? Absolutely not. Right.
My father has a saying. He said this to me since I was a little kid. Well, is it really going to matter 100 years from now? Is it really going to matter 100, whatever you're going through?
Oh, that's good shit to think about.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And by the way, like, if I ever get my dad here, I want my dad on this fucking podcast because he is motherfucking Yoda. He is tiny Irish Yoda. And
what's his name?
Kenneth. Ken. Yeah. Ken Rines. Ken Rines. He is Yoda. This man is so zen, and you'd have to be to deal with my Irish mother.
What's Kenneth Rines' Instagram like?
Instagram. Oh my god. Let me tell you, my parents.
So if I try to DM him tonight, it's not gonna work.
I don't know. Do you have a Commodore 64 that you can like you can maybe like insert your floppy and talk to him on like a dial-up because that might work. My parents are the reason why I will never ever fall from technology.
Totally.
Because I got a fucking phone call. I got a phone call. No shit. Like 3 days ago, my mom's going to Cuba. Dad's back's pretty bad. He has trouble traveling. So my dad calls me. He's like, "Hey, how are you, guy?" He calls me guy. I'm like, yeah, I'm good, Dad. I'm like walking my dog or something like that. And he's like, yeah. So I just wanted to run something by you here. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, so I'm on Sunwing's website. I'm trying to print off it says in a PDF format. I need to print off this, and he's like, it's saying that it's not accepted, blah blah blah, and it won't move to my printer. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know where to begin with you right now. Or like, I mean, I get a random call like, yeah, I can't get off this page. I'm like, what do you mean off this page? He's like, I can't turn the page off. I'm like, are you talking about like closing a window? You can't close a window on. I'm like, oh fuck. Okay. I'm like, okay, Dad. So I don't know, like top right hand corner, move your mouse. Yeah, I have these conversations with my parents at least, you know, like once a month maybe, where I'm trying to help them out on the computer via me talking on the phone, and I will never ever get to a point in my life where I am so distanced from the basics of technology that I don't know how to close a window on my computer.
I talked to my dad 2 days ago, and whatever, we had a conversation, and towards the end I said, "Have you listened to the podcast?" Asking, and I said, he's like, "What's a podcast?"
Oh yeah,
I started a podcast. I told you about it. He's like, "I've never heard that word before."
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like a radio show that we like just have conversations and post our shit.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, but I'd like to find out where can I reach this podcast?" And so I'm explaining to him, like, you have an iPhone, Dad. There's a purple app. It's called Podcast. You just click the app. Anyway.
Oh man, no. I told Mom was like, "So what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, because she called me this morning. I was pretty sick this morning. By the way, whiskey helps with the head cold. Yeah, it's amazing. So like I talked to my mom. She's like, "So you know," I'm like, "Look, I'm not going to the office today. You know, I'm just gonna rest before I do this podcast with my friend Denny." And she's like, we talked about some other stuff, and she's like, so what are you doing? Like an iPad thing on your iPad? Or I'm like, iPad? Are you the podcast thing? I'm like, it's like a little radio show, like on the internet. And she's like, oh, okay. So I don't need an iPad for that? I'm like, no, fuck, no. Stop. Fuck. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So good. Liam, man, thank you so much for being on the show.
Okay. Yeah. This was lovely.
Based on how easy that was, we need to have round 2, and we will soon.
Yeah, I'm down, dude. For sure.
Thanks so much for coming out.
I'd do anything for you, Denny.
I love you to pieces, man.
I love you to bits.
You're such a good dude. I'm so happy with... Honestly, I remember our conversation that we had at that Christmas party last year. And I just literally, I walked away from the conversation just thinking like, this is the most genuine, wicked dude. Why is it coming back to your boner, Liam? Fuck. I'm trying to give you a compliment. Most genuine, honest, like fun storytelling dude that I've met in a long time. And I'm pumped about our relationship, and I'm pumped about how much we've grown together in the last year, man.
This is gonna be the beginning, man. Like I expect huge things out of Carl primarily, and also out of you and I.
For sure.
I think that this is gonna be this is a lifelong friendship, you and I.
For sure.
That's it.
Thanks so much for coming on.
We'll
have you back soon.
Fuck yeah.
As always, guys, thank you so much for listening. I want you to give me your feedback, please. Positive, negative. I want to hear it. Hit me up on Instagram, denny.duma. Later.
Well, I'd like to point out that I don't want I don't want to hear any of your negative shit. So if you have anything negative to say about me personally, fuck you. I will find you. I will come to your house and bounce your fucking head off of your front steps. Okay?
Mic drop.
Mic drop.